Well, good morning. Good to see you all this morning. A little thin this morning, dare I say anorexic, but we're here. It's good to see you all here. Obviously, a number of people not feeling well. I didn't let James know. Caleb's not feeling well. That's why he and Megan aren't here. Poor little guy who's not feeling well this morning. I went in to check on him, and he's trying to change his clothes with tears streaming down his face because his head hurts. So we let the little fella stay home. But it's good to see you all here. Good to see some of those that were not feeling well, feeling better, and good to be together. You know, I think that there's a strong correlation of illness and lack of sunshine, particularly in Florida. And we've had a couple pretty dreary days. I mean, we've got a little sunshine because it's Florida, but pretty dreary. I think that's the issue. So if it's sunny today, the prescription that I give is to go outside, soak up some rays, and eat an apple. And then that'll be the good thing to do. That's my plan this afternoon, at least. But it's good to be with you all. So last week I preached a sermon on Psalm 73. Why do the wicked prosper? We kind of dug into that, and I got a comment afterwards, much appreciated comment, that applies sometimes. But what about the opposite? What about when things are just going well and you feel blessed and you think about things positively? And I was like, that's great. That's the right sermon to preach this week. So that's what we're doing. So we're not looking at Psalm 73. We're going the other direction and looking at Psalm 16, which in some ways might be the antithesis to Psalm 73. You know, Psalm 73 asks, why do the wicked prosper? And Psalm 16 declares, I already have everything. Psalm 73 begins with almost slipping, and Psalm 16 begins with unshakable trust. Psalm 73 wrestles with envy. Psalm 16 is immune to it. The key lines, I think, are, the Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. The lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance. Or verse 11, in your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Psalm 73, my feet had almost stumbled, versus I shall not be shaken. Envy of the prosperous versus contentment in God alone. The world seen as unfair versus the world seen as a gift. Sanctuary brings clarity, whereas God's presence is just assumed. And so whereas Psalm 16 and Psalm 73, Psalm 16 is after the struggle is fully resolved of Psalm 73, you could say. And you might even frame it this way. The Psalm 73 teaches us how faith survives doubt, where Psalm 16 teaches us what faith looks like when it's whole. So you get this opposite direction. And so that's really what we want to look at. We're going to break down the psalm together this morning. And I want to begin by thinking about this psalm this way. How often in your life do you make a public pronouncement? You ever think about that? Like you proclaim something. I'm not talking about public speaking opportunities. We get those at church or maybe at work or things like that. I'm talking more about like a vow or like a pledge. In school, kids say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, right? That's like a proclamation. That's like a vow, so to speak. But when in your life do you make those sorts of proclamations publicly, just kind of in general? I mean, I don't know that many of us stand up at work and say, I pledge allegiance to the cafeteria or whatever. I don't know. We don't do it. That's not really part of our everyday sort of vernacular. Maybe if you join a club, secret club, you got to swear loyalty to the club or something like that. If you become president, you have to, swear to uphold the office and all those sorts of things. When someone is baptized, we ask, do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God? And we expect the proclaimed yes. That is a pledge of belief, a statement. And then we'll say, based on that confession, we baptize you now in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Maybe another kind of occasion that fits this pretty well is like a wedding. We pledge something at a wedding, don't we? We say, I do. And sometimes we repeat vows, sometimes we don't. Megan and I, when we got married, we had Tommy Peeler do the wedding. I don't know how many of you know him. He's a little bit forgetful sometimes. And so he asked us about what our vows were supposed to be. And we said, well, we'll just do kind of generic sort of vows, whatever you have. And he's like, okay. And we show up to the wedding and there are no vows. So we didn't exchange vows to repeat after me. So we said, I do. And then people always give me a look, and I'm like, marriage is the vow, right? Like, I don't need to say marriage is the vow. We don't need all the addendums. I don't know. Maybe our marriage isn't as good as other people's because of that. I don't know. But marriage is the vow. He said I do. But that's like an opportunity to kind of proclaim these things. But I think when we turn to Psalm 16, I think we should see those same elements of proclamation, of pledging here in this psalm. So let's just read the whole thing together. Psalm 16, verse 1. Preserve me, O God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. I have no good apart from you. As for the saints in the land, they are the excellent ones in whom is all my delight. The sorrows of those who run after another God shall multiply. Their drink offerings of blood I will not pour out, or take their names on my lips. The Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. The lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance. I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night also my heart instructs me. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I shall not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad, and my whole being rejoices. My flesh also dwells secure, for you will not abandon my soul to Sheol, or let your Holy One see corruption. You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. I mean, this is proclamation, right? There's no, my feet nearly slipped. There's no stumbling. It is, the Lord has blessed me. And I look around and I see the blessings of God's people around me and with me. And I am glorifying these things. And I look at those that have abandoned God, and I am not even tempted by their way of life. You know, like I will not speak their names on my lips. And so there's this kind of opposite sort of thing, this assurance, this blessing that he's reflecting in what he says. But what's interesting is that the first thing he says is, preserve me, O God, for in you I take refuge. And you'd expect, if you've read a lot of the Psalms, that after preserve me, O Lord, you would expect a lament, right? Preserve me because my enemies are multiplied around me. Preserve me because my suffering is great. Preserve me because whatever. And yet, what follows is anything but a lament. I don't know why David wrote this. I don't know why he put pen to paper and wrote these words. I don't know what the circumstances were that led to this, or what his intent of his heart was when he began. And so I think we always need to be a little bit careful then when we interpret. But that having been said, there does seem to be a little bit of a strange disconnect from this preserved language and the rest of the psalm. And so I think we'll offer some ideas on how to connect better later on. But for now, I just want to emphasize the shift, the preserved language of verse 1 to the proclamation in verse 2. He's going from preserve to a declaration of confidence. And so he says, I say to the Lord, you are my Lord, and I have no good apart from you. This isn't like a qualified statement, right? Like, this isn't like he's saying something and then has to like walk it back. You know, like, you're my Lord and it's mostly good. It's just, no, there is no good apart from you. The good things that I have, the good things that I recognize, I know that they exist because of you. And I think that in some ways, this is an example of a point I often make about prayer. Something I heard my dad say a lot is the way that when we pray and bow our heads, our tone will change a lot of times. Our attitude will change just by the mere act of praying. We re-emphasize and our perspective shifts a little bit. And of course, I've told this story before, but going on a family vacation, my dad would talk about how, we want to pray and you say, Lord, get us there on time. And you're like, Lord, help us to get there, have a good trip. How about to be pleasant? Like, well, is that the most important thing? Lord, help us to get there safe. Lord, just kill us all at once. So there's, we don't suffer without each other. Like you reshift your thinking. Like, what's the most important thing as you're praying? And you see that here as he's going through this. He recognizes that he's bowing to the Lord, who he is and what he's given. And so there does seem to be a little bit of a shift, a little bit of a perception change that he has. And in verse 3 and 4, something like we talked about kind of in the introduction, we get this proclamation, this intent towards God himself, but also to all those around David, to the leaders of Israel, to who they are. He says in verse 3, as for the saints in the land, they are the excellent ones in whom is all my delight. The sorrows of those who run after another God shall multiply. Their drink offerings of blood I will not pour out, or take their names on my lips. He's addressing the saints of the land, the people around him, and he says, I will not betray God. I will not pour out libations to an idol. I will remain faithful, and I'm not going to abandon God. We made a reference to wedding vows, those sorts of proclamations. Some scholars argue that the language in verse 4 is specifically to pay a bride price to these idols, that sort of thing. I don't know how much credence we can give into that. I guess we can trust the scholars, or at least offer some sort of credibility to them. But whether or not we see it specifically like that, the picture then would be to picture idolaters as bridegrooms who pay to purchase the God they desire, right? Like, I'm going to go find the God I want, and I'm going to purchase that relationship, become entrenched to them. And whether or not it's specifically bridal language or not, that's the idea of this offering of blood to this idol, that they want to kind of buy this relationship to them. And that's not David. Those acts of adultery, David will not engage in. And of course, whenever we talk about idolatry, we have a little bit of a trouble disconnect, because we don't, in our society at least, see a lot of people bowing down to pagan idols. Still exist in the world, not too much in America, at least that we see. And so we have a little bit of a hard time trying to make the application through to that. But I think we recognize the idea of like purchasing or creating the relationship that then best benefits us. Like trying to buy our way into a situation where we receive and have this kind of transactional relationship with our God, or with our desires, or with whatever it is. And if we're not careful, we can have the same attitude towards God, that we see our relationship with God as transactional. That the idea is, if I do these things and pray to God, then he will providentially take care of me. So as long as I do my part, God's going to do his part, and I'll be better off. Is that what God wants? Is that like the point of our relationship with God? Sure, God does lots of things for us. He providentially protects us and takes care of us. We give him credit for our blessings and the things that we have. But is our relationship with God just a mere transaction? Is that the way that we view it? It shouldn't be. I mean, you have a friend. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day. Megan saw a thing somebody posted on the internet, and it was like, if you would get $500, I don't remember exactly, it was something like, you get $5 million if you call somebody and they pick up and agree to go to Disney World with you at the drop of a hat, something like that, right? Do you know anybody that would do that? Could you make the $5 million? And I said to Megan, I was like, well, can you tell them about the $5 million? And she was like, I guess. I was like, well, that's easy. You just tell somebody, cut work, we'll split $5 million. You get $2.5 million, you go to Disney today. They're like, yeah, sure, why not? Whether they like Disney or not, I think most people would do that, take a sick day to get $2.5 million. But the interesting question is, if you add the caveats, they have to answer the phone and you can't tell them about the money. Would they do it, right? And I was like, yeah, I've got friends that if I was like, look, I really need you today. Like, I need you to come through. You got to take a day off work. Need you to come through. Like, I feel like I've got people that would do that, right? I don't know. Jeff's over there smiling. Maybe he'd agree. Jeff, you got to take a sick day. I need you to go to Disney with me. You don't understand. It just has to happen, right? Maybe you come through. Does that mean that the relationship is transactional, though? Like when a friend does something for you, buys you a meal, right? Gives you a Christmas present, is that the foundation of the relationship? Well, with good friends, it's not, right? Like them going to Disney with you has nothing to do with the $5 million. It's my friend's in need. For whatever reason, he has to go to Disney. I mean, pretty silly example maybe. But like you come through and you do that for the person, right? Is that the way God is for us, right? That he comes through, he takes care of us, he provides for us. But is that the basis of our relationship? Is it transactional? What David is saying, these people look at these idols and they buy that relationship. They pour out the libations. They create the relationship. That's not the way that David is. And it's not his relationship with God either. And I think that's a powerful way to articulate this. He's not paying for his God. And nor should we. Right? The Lord has redeemed us. He's bought us back. He's done all these things. And we serve and glorify him. And there are transactions made, if you want to get technical about it. But that's not what the relationship is about, is it? God wants a relationship with us. Do we want the relationship back? Do we pray with him and communicate with him because we have a relationship with him, or is it because we just always want stuff? I think David's speaking to the heart of this. He goes on to say in verse 5, the Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. I entrust it all to you. You hold it. The lines have fallen for me in pleasant places, and indeed I have a beautiful inheritance. He says, you hold it all. I've given it over all to you. And he also recognizes that things have fallen in place for him in pleasant places. And he's attributing to God credit for the circumstances of his life, an inheritance that God has given him, that he has blessed him, that he has given him what he has. And he recognizes that every great and good gift comes from the Father above, right? This attitude and recognition of the beauty of the world and the blessings that he has and focusing on those and knowing that they're from God. There's contentment in this language, isn't there? There's gratitude. The lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. I mean, I love the word pleasant, first of all, because it's pleasant, right? But then on top of that, he talks about the beautiful inheritance that he has. I mean, these are like lovely words that he's using to articulate just life and existence. I think that's wonderful. And as much as we may, in contrast, like last week, read Psalm 73 and wonder about the prosperity of the wicked, and we may go through periods in our life where we are troubled and set upon and feel bad and separated from God and darkness and bad and sad and all those things, there is this contrasting point, isn't there? In which we should be able to look around and say, what a beautiful world that God has allowed us to live in, and what beautiful blessings that I may have. And what's incredible is that we can have that attitude even when the bad, sad, dark stuff exists, right? That we can still be grateful for the beautiful world that God's given us, even in the midst of the depravity of the world. And he recognizes that those things come from God. Verse 7 says, I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night also my heart instructs me. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I shall not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad, and my whole being rejoices. My flesh also dwells secure. So before this, he's talking about the circumstances of his life. But starting in verse 7, he starts talking about his heart and his mind. So it's like the world's beautiful, but now he's talking about his heart and his mind in that perspective. That he allows God to guide his decisions, that he allows God to be the one that directs his path. Even when he is outwardly resting, the Lord uses his word to be internalized in David, right? Even at night, it becomes a part of him, and it guides him and instructs him. And maybe there's an element here too, because the Bible does this a lot. The contrast between light and dark, day and night, all those sorts of things. Maybe part of the element is even that in the night, even in the darkness, even when things aren't as beautiful, my heart also instructs me because of the Lord who's giving him counsel. Maybe that's part of it too. And then he says, I have set the Lord always before me. And it's another kind of internal action, isn't it? This isn't something you literally do. I mean, they may do that with an idol, but you don't actually take God and set him before you like that. That's to miss the point. This is an internal sort of thing. And so rather than maybe Psalm 73, where he goes into the sanctuary to find God and to redirect to like his perspective on things, here, this is how David describes the movement of his affections for the Lord. It's internal, always before him. He can't help but keep the Lord as a present reality in his life. You know, it's interesting. Like, we talk about what we're interested in, don't we? We watch a lot of sports. We talk about sports. Spend a lot of time watching the Bucks games. Probably going to talk about the Bucks, football, whatever it is. Caleb only gets 30 minutes a day playing video games, and yet he talks a lot about video games. It's always before his mind, right? And kind of worry about that sometimes, but seems like a pretty good kid, so I guess we're okay. It's like, but that's what comes out. Like when you talk to somebody, they're going to talk about what's before them. How much is God a part of what we talk about? Part of our relationships with each other, just in general? Is he always before our minds? I mean, it's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, I've gotten to where I have a really hard time keeping secrets from Megan. Like, I love to like surprise her. I never surprise her. I always end up telling her. I used to be pretty good at it. But like now it's like, if I have something exciting that I'm going to surprise her with, I have nobody else to tell. So like, you want to share the surprise, so you have to tell somebody. So it's like, you want to tell her because we talk all the time. We're around each other all the time. We enjoy conversating. So it's like, it's hard to keep a secret. I don't know. So you end up, having a hard time keeping the secrets. If I'm obsessed over a new hobby, I would say that she knows about it. I don't think that she's able to process as much information as I throw at her. But it's like I get into guitars and it's like you want to talk about acoustic guitars, we could talk for a while. I don't know why I'm like this, but I am. And I know a lot about X bracing and V bracing and fan V bracing and top woods and backwoods, and it's ridiculous, right? And you share that because it's on your mind. And so she knows all about those things. What David is saying is amazing, though, because what he is saying is God is a reality in his life. It's not talking about your hobby or video games. It's God, and it's your relationship with God. And the question is, do you actually see God as a present reality in your life? Is he with you? Do we think in terms of like one day going and being with God? Or do we see God as with us now? And the one day being a fulfillment of the things that we already have? I think it's worth considering that. Is he here with us as we participate in the Lord's Supper and sing together and study together? Is God here? We say that he is, but do we believe that he is? Do we recognize him as present in our life? I mean, take a moment and consider. It's the hard stuff, right? I mean, I've been in group studies, Bible classes where somebody says, I don't understand the way that people talk about always feeling God around them. I've never felt God's presence the way that people talk about it. And it's like, that's a sad thing, but it's a real thing, isn't it? Do you feel it? Like that's like a kind of weird word, maybe. Do you recognize it maybe better? Do you understand it? Do you believe it? And I think this all comes back to even before, at least is the way my mind thinks about it, the transactional relationship with these idols, right? Because if we want to feel God, right, we want to feel his presence, we think about it in terms of his providence and the things that he's done for us. And we think about the way that God providentially takes care of us. So then if he isn't providentially taking care of us when we go through a difficult time, we wonder if he's even there. Because if he was there, surely he would have done something, right? But that's the hard question. But our relationship with God is not transactional like that. I keep using the word. I don't have a better one. I apologize. But it's not transactional in that way. We recognize he's there as a friend is there. We believe that he is there. I mean, how often have you really tested your friendship with somebody to find out if they actually would show up and at the drop of a hat go to Disney with you for $5 million? Like how often do you actually have to test a friendship in that way? Not very often. And do you have friends that you believe would do that even if you've never tested them that way? Because I do. I've got a buddy in Pennsylvania. I haven't seen him in years. Talk on the phone every few months. And I would bet almost anything, if I was a betting man, that if I called him and said, Jeff, I need you, that he would come. He's got a family. He'd take a day off work. He'd come. But he's not here, right? Like I haven't asked him. I haven't tested that. I don't know for sure. Do we have that same belief in God? And that's what he's getting at here, this understanding. I have set the Lord always before me. I know he's here. And he may not answer my prayer the way that I want him to or providentially intervene in my life, but he's always before me. I believe that and understand that. Verse 9, therefore my heart is glad and my whole being rejoices. My flesh also dwells secure. It's all okay because God is always before me and he's with me. And so it's okay. What's the evidence that it's okay? That God is always before you. What's the evidence that God is before you? Because you know he is. I think it's a little bit circular. But I think that's part of the point and part of the relationship that God's tried to establish with us. That it is this belief-based thing, this trust-based thing. And it's once you get to the point where you actually trust and believe and know that he's there and he's always before you, then yeah, your heart is glad and your whole being rejoices and your flesh dwells secure. And so it's circular and it's difficult, but that's the point, I think. Hopefully I'm making sense. Like we want the evidence, we want the proof, we want the providence. But it's there if we believe it's there. It's like a strange way to say that maybe. But when you're looking around at the world and you're full of this overwhelming gratitude for the blessings of life and the things that you have, and you see God's presence and you have the beautiful sunshine on a nice chilly day, there's actually a word for that, apricity. It's an old English word. I don't think it's used very much anymore, but it's the feeling of the warm sun on a cold day. Apricity. It's lovely sort of sentiment. Like when you're feeling I don't even know how to use it in a sentence. When you're feeling the apricity on like a day, or I don't know, like that's God, right? Like you feel the overwhelming presence of God, like you might apricity. Like how do you recognize those things? Like you see those things, you feel those things the way that he does. Gladness and rejoicing because the security he gains from God because he knows that God is there. And so you will not abandon my soul to Sheol or let your Holy One see corruption. You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy, and at your right hand are pleasures forevermore. And I think these last verses clarify the first verse. The sustaining because death is at hand. Yet because of God we can endure even past death. But that's the idea. So preserve me is at the beginning because there is something to be preserved from that we all face. And yet, despite that, there's confidence and assurance because you will not abandon my soul to Sheol. Here's the interesting thing. We talked about this in terms of proclamation, right? The idea of pledging something, the way that he pledges his fealty to God or his fidelity or whatever. And we talk about marriage. And in a marriage vow, we say, until death do us part, right? The psalmist says, through death we remain together. Like it's like this pledge idea that we have, except it's ratcheted up a little bit. The confidence isn't just until separation occurs, it's that there is no separation. There is no death do us part. It is through death, preserved through Sheol. The blessings that I see now, the confidence of God being before me now, will endure with me through the veil, through the valley of the shadow of death, through all of those things. The path of life, no corruption, no decay, life everlasting. We go beyond the grave to dwell with God for eternity, is the idea. And that changes everything. And that's at the core of the psalm and the sentiment that he has, and at the core of his mental well-being, if you want to put it that way. Isn't it? It's all okay. And so, yeah, the world is pleasant and it's beautiful and it's wonderful because even though it's dark and full of decay and horrible, it's still beautiful because God's here and he's going to redeem us through it. And he's with us now and he stands with us and he holds us secure. And we know that he does. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter when the rain comes and the storms come because the sunlight's going to creep through. Sorry, a lot of mixed metaphors. But the idea is that we know that God is with us and he preserves us through. And that's the difference. God is with us now, but then we will be with God, is the idea. And of course, I think we need to see Jesus in the psalm because Jesus died, ascended, and rose to the right hand of God to pave the way for us. John 14:6, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father but by me. And so we are freed from sin, captivated by the gospel. And we offer the same prayer, the same thing. We read Psalm 16, and it is our prayer, it is our heart, it is our mind to have the same attitude. And so there are times in which we struggle by the prosperity of the wicked. the death and decay of the world, those sorts of things. But there should be times as well in which those things don't bother us at all, because God is with us, and he stands with us, and he is always before us. And so I think Psalm 16 is a wonderful kind of antithesis of Psalm 73, maybe. Hopefully that's encouraging to you all. And I'll leave you with this thought and this invitation. I hope that you know that God is with you, and that he stands with you, and he is always with you. And you may not feel his presence the way that some people talk about it. You may not have that kind of warm embrace that we sing about sometimes in our hymns, but you can still know that he's there. And that confidence is something that endures not just through our days on this earth, but even through death itself. And I hope that you all feel that way. And I hope that you all are encouraged this morning looking at Psalm 16, and that you can pray the same sort of prayer that David offers there and have that same sort of confidence. And if you don't, I'd love to pray with you and help you and encourage you. And maybe you need to be baptized and begin your walk with God. Whatever it is, if he wants to pray for you or baptize you, please let us know as we stand and sing this song.